He promised me that we would be together forever.
He was very confident.
We was wondering if he was hiding something.
They said that he was wanted for a murder. My fear intensified.
I think she was really brave.
Evil was in my house. And I couldn't let evil in my house.
Margie Danielsen has 3 gorgeous daughters, her own house, and a successful cleaning business. But there's one thing missing.
I got divorced because I think we were just too young when we got married.
How's breakfast? Good.
My daughters are very, very, very important to me. They're my whole world.
She prides herself on being a good mom, and she is a romantic. She likes to read romantic novels and watch romantic movies.
Bye, girls.
She's always been family oriented. I was hoping that maybe one day she might meet somebody else.
It's been 1 year since Margie split from her husband. She's lonely and ready to start the dating game.
My girlfriends were bugging me to go out, and I thought, okay, I think it's time. And we went to a country western club. We walked in, I was nervous. And you could see all the smoke-filled room, and there were cowboys with hats. One gentleman caught my eye because he didn't have Western attire on. He had a white shirt on and Levi's, and that was it. But very, very good looking.
Would you like to dance?
Sure. Eventually, he asked me politely to dance, and it was a slow dance, but he didn't hold me really tight. He told me that he liked to be called Sean Paul. I can't believe this man. He's good looking, he's charming, he's wonderful.
Wow, what a good looking guy. He was very, very friendly, happy, smiling.
I said, before we ever go out on a date, I think we should talk on the phone and get to know each other better. And he agreed.
Hello? Oh, hi.
We talked on the phone every night for about a week. And we talked about where he worked and what he did for a living. And he told me he was a chef. And he was working at this restaurant, but he would really like to invest in a restaurant of his own. He actually told me that he had a daughter. And I thought, wow, that's just wonderful. We both have something in common.
Really? What's she like?
She always told me that she was looking for somebody that was handsome, strong, and family oriented.
She said he was from New Zealand, and that his mother and father and brother and sister had died in a plane crash, and I think she really empathized with that. That made him more endearing, for sure.
It finally hit me that I was alone, and I didn't want to be alone. I wanted someone in my life. I wanted to share my life with someone.
Dinner sounds perfect.
After several weeks getting cozy on the phone, Margie agrees to go out with Sean Paul for the evening.
He pulls up in his car, and he comes to the door.
I was excited for this new guy to show up.
Hi.
Hi, you must be Kara. Is your mom here?
You can't hug her or touch her, touch her hair or anything. My first impression of him was he was very confident, I would say. He was very sure of himself, and it seemed like my mom liked him quite a bit.
Over the next few weeks, Sean Paul sweeps Margie off her feet with one romantic date after another.
He wined and dined her, and she was so happy.
This is starting out to be something pretty good.
Sean Paul makes an announcement. The restaurant he works in is to be featured on local TV, and he has a starring role.
I thought, wow, this is so exciting. When it came on, it kind of almost didn't even look like him. He had on this big chef hat, but he had glasses on. I'd never seen him wear glasses. And he was talking about how to prepare the dish, but he kept looking down. And he should be looking at the camera. When the show was over, he said, how did I do? And I asked him, I said, why did you keep looking down? He said, I was nervous. And I said, I didn't know you wore glasses. He says, well, I'm supposed to, but I didn't want to wear glasses in front of you. What else, what other explanation would there be? After a few dates and doing things that we really enjoyed, he picked me up in the car, and all of a sudden we're at this workout gym. And the place was beautiful. He said, I have a surprise for you. I have membership for you and the girls.
Also, I would love to buy your gym outfits.
Oh no, that's okay, thank you. It's more than enough.
I just didn't think that was appropriate. And he kept insisting. I said, I can't accept this. This is too much.
But I'd really love to do this for you.
He wouldn't take no for an answer, and I insisted harder and said no. I don't know why. I had this strange feeling. But I thought I was just making something out of nothing.
It's the first clue that all's not what it seems with Sean Paul. Sean Paul doesn't like Margie saying no.
A few days later, after I came home from work, I just had this feeling that something was wrong. When I turned down the hallway, my heart stopped. I saw all these workout clothes hanging from the doors and the ceiling, and I just froze. I knew Sean Paul had bought the clothes and hung them there. He had been in my house. You don't break into someone's house like this. You just don't. I called him up on the phone and I told him, how did you do this? Why did you do this? He said, I just wanted to surprise you.
She didn't want him breaking into her house. I guess he had come through the kitchen window, and I'm sure she felt violated.
I said, you're too much. There's too much. There's too many flowers. There's too many gifts. There's too many everything. I need a break. I can't do this anymore.
It's over, Sean Paul.
Once I told him I didn't want to see him anymore, I didn't hear from him. I was glad, but I kind of missed him too. It was hard to know what to feel. I thought, you know, maybe dating's not for me. Then I come home from work one day and there was a note and it said, call me, it's urgent, please. Sean Paul.
Against her better judgment, Margie makes the call.
I called him and he was crying. And he said his daughter had been killed in a car accident by a drunk driver.
What?
I didn't know even how to react. And he said, you know, please, I need to see you.
I'll be there in a second.
I didn't think of anything else. I didn't think about the fear I felt before. I didn't think of anything else, just that this man's daughter had died. And I got in my car and I went over to his apartment.
When Sean Paul opens the door, Margie is struck with fear.
The way he looked at me, he looked like some stranger. I looked in his eyes and all I could see was evil. And I thought, he's got another side to him. There's two sides to him.
It's okay.
I wanted to be there for him. But I didn't know who this person was. I felt more fear than I've ever felt in my life. And I had to get out of there.
I'll come back later.
I had to escape. I had no idea why I was running and what I was running from. But I just knew I shouldn't go in that apartment. I just knew it. You start making up excuses that it was all in my head. When he opened the door, it was my imagination.
Margie's shocked and upset by Sean Paul's aggressive behavior. But when he phones a few days later, she's unable to ignore his cry for help.
And I answered the phone, and he said that he had to make arrangements to send his daughter's body back to New Zealand. You don't think anybody could stand going through all that. You know, your whole family's wiped out in a plane crash, and now his daughter's died.
That would affect my mom. She couldn't even imagine losing one of her daughters.
We just talked on the phone again like we used to. And little by little by little by little by little, my fear was going away. And he knew what to say. He knew how to make me feel better. And eventually, I agreed to see him again. We started dating again. There was never any fear again. The fear was gone, never came back. We dated for almost a year.
She did want a man in her life, yeah. She wanted the happily ever after.
My relationship with Sean Paul moved on to a more close relationship.
I just wasn't quite sure of him. I don't know, he was too perfect.
Christmas came. He was excited, I was excited. We went to the mall and he wanted me to pick out something for myself. And so he gave me his wallet so I could pay for what I wanted. He always wore a gold chain around his neck, and I noticed that it was missing. He said, "Oh, I lost it, it's probably somewhere." I went in the dressing room and I saw his wallet sitting there. I knew I probably shouldn't, but I looked in it. And I saw a pawn slip, and it was for his gold necklace. And I thought, why would he pawn his necklace and tell me he lost it? But then I thought, wow, he did it to buy all these presents. And he didn't want me to know. In hindsight, maybe he wanted me to find it. Maybe he wanted me to know what he had done for us. After Christmas, Sean Paul decided to surprise me, and he proposed.
Will you do the honor of being my wife?
I told him about my feelings of, being scared a little bit.
Yes! Yes!
He promised me that we would be together forever.
Forever.
My mom, with her family and friends there, she seemed thrilled, very happy to be married.
Eventually, things started moving into my house little by little, but it was comfortable. He even brought a picture that he had at his apartment over to hang on my wall of New Zealand. The only thing that I could remember that maybe was a little off was when I would call him Sean and not Sean Paul. He wouldn't answer me. I'd say, "Are you hard of hearing?" And he said, "No, I like to be called both names because I'm used to being called both names." Looking back, I didn't understand why, but I felt uneasy at different times.
With their lives now joined, Sean Paul suggests they merge their bank accounts too.
Early on, Sean Paul took over the finances. He put his name on my checking account and my savings account, so we were together, and he had brought home some documents for me to sign.
Okay, so I just need you to sign a couple of these insurance forms that, just like this one right here.
I didn't really read them because he told me what they said.
So these are just some stuff from the bank. No big deal.
I trusted him by then.
Every time he talked to you, he wouldn't look at you.
They're there.
He would look everywhere but at you. We was wondering if he was hiding something.
Six weeks into married life, and all seems to be going well, when Margie gets a startling call.
My girlfriend Nyla calls and says to turn on this new TV show. It's called America's Most Wanted. And she says, "There's a guy on there right now. He kind of looks like your husband a little bit." There was a man, Paul Stephen Mack. They said that he was wanted for a murder in Sacramento, California. And he was on the run. But I was so confused. Can't even comprehend that Paul Stephen Mack could be my husband. He didn't look like my husband. I knew something was wrong, but it could never be murder. Murder doesn't enter my life. We just had a wonderful wedding. And now I'm thinking all these crazy things again. I thought about it for a while and I thought, I've got to do something. If I had met his family or someone that knew him, then that would have helped. But with everybody dying in his family, then you can't really find out much about a person.
Margie's fairly certain that her friends got it wrong. But to be on the safe side, she does a little sleuthing.
I did remember he had documents of his parents dying and his brother and sister and his daughter. I go through them and his name's on all of them. Okay, good. And then all of a sudden it catches my eye. On his daughter's death certificate, the date is wrong. I found there were no state seals. So I thought, this isn't a real document, something's wrong here. When Sean Paul got home, I showed him the mistakes.
I'm just gonna call him.
And he immediately said, "I'm gonna take care of this." He called the hospital, and the woman said, "Well, I can't give you that information over the phone, but if you send a letter and proof that you are her father, we'll get this straightened out." And he said, "Okay, fine."
Okay.
I felt a little relief, but why is that nagging fear back in my head? I have 3 daughters. I need to protect them. I don't know what from, but I need to find out the truth. That night, I remember laying in bed, tossing and turning. I couldn't sleep. I always kept little things in the back of my mind, like America's Most Wanted. It just kind of was another piece to the puzzle, but I wanted to put that puzzle together. I wanted to find out the truth myself. He's my husband. I have a right to know who he is. I finally decided that maybe what I need to do is hire a private investigator, find out the truth once and for all. He said he would need two things. He would need his Social Security number, and he would need a deposit of $1,500.
Oh, no problem. I can get that.
I hung up the phone, and I thought, how am I going to get this money? And the only thing I could think of was what I need to do is ask Sean Paul. And so I would ask the man that I'm going to investigate for the money. I'd never lied to my husband before, and I really didn't want to now. I remember we're sitting at the table, and I want him to believe that I need the money. And I don't want him to start being suspicious of me. And I told him that my friend Daryl needed money for this surgery, and would he be willing to help her out?
You know what? Sure.
Thanks.
And I just hope my hand wasn't shaking, because I knew I wasn't telling the truth, but it's just something I had to do. First, we need to do the Social Security numbers. I waited till I knew he was asleep and you could hear the heavy breathing. And it took me a while, because it was kind of a scary thing to have to sneak out of bed and get into his wallet. And I had already put paper and pencil in the bathroom in a cabinet. And I found not just one Social Security card, but two. And I was a little confused. And so I wrote down both numbers, and I put them back in and turned off the light. I don't even know if I slept the rest of the night. When I went to meet the private investigator,
Margie,
Mr. McCall?
nice to meet you. Have a seat.
it was almost like some spy movie or something.
What did you know about your husband before you met him?
Not much.
When I told him I had two Social Security numbers, he was a little confused.
That's a little unusual.
He said it might be a good idea to make copies of the documents.
If you can't, if you could maybe take some photos of them and get them to me, that would be very useful.
The next day after my husband went to work, I waited for the private investigator to call.
Hello?
He told me that the Social Security numbers belonged to two dead people. And I was shocked. My fear intensified right then.
Rather than turn her husband into the police, Margie decides she needs more evidence. She needs to find what's lurking in Sean Paul's past.
I thought something's wrong now, definitely. I didn't know what, but I thought, oh, it's probably not that bad, but I need to find out what it is. I woke up every morning with this quest. I had to find out who he was. I finally decided I needed to confront Sean Paul. I told him that someone from his work had called and they needed a Social Security number. So I looked in your wallet and you had two Social Security cards. He said to me, well, I carry my son sometimes and I forget to give it back to him.
Look, I'm sick of hearing about the documents.
He just got mad at me. It was a different Sean Paul. I thought back to the night when I went to his apartment. And I remember how evil his face was. And I've seen this evil side twice. I've got to get out of this situation. We'd only been married a few weeks. The honeymoon was over very fast.
Margie's certain that the secret as to her husband's true identity lies in his private documents.
Sure enough, he took the documents and locked them in a briefcase. But he didn't want me to look at them. He didn't want me to talk about them again. And I decided I was going to have to take the documents or give them to my private investigator. I had to do something, and that would be my next step. I'd gone shopping and I came home and my daughters weren't there, and they were always there.
Girls, I'm home!
They always asked permission when they went with a friend. I just got this funny feeling and kind of sick feeling, and so I called Sean Paul at work. I don't know why, I thought maybe he knew where they were. He says, they're fine. I know they're fine, I know where they are, they're having fun. Where are they? He says, he said, you don't need to know that. He says, see, this is what happens when you ask too many questions. It's like a game. He came home from work and I begged him to tell me where they were. He said, they're fine. Don't worry about it. My fear intensified right then.
Where have you been?
Eventually the girls came in and hugged him. And I was sorry. And I was so glad that they were alive. And they said that these two guys, which they'd met before, because we'd seen them at the restaurant, had showed up to take them to the amusement park. And they had Sean Paul on the phone. He told them, yeah, it's fine, it's okay with your mom, everything's fine, you can go ahead and have fun. I decided that night while we were asleep that I would again sneak out of bed. And I'm shaking because I feel like, what if he wakes up? What is he gonna think? I got the briefcase. I knew the combination. I'd seen him open and close that briefcase many times. With a camera, I made copies of the documents. When I was done, put the originals in the briefcase. I made sure that they went back to the right numbers and quietly snuck back in the bedroom.
Margie's terrified Sean Paul will discover her detective work.
The girls had gone to their father's for the weekend, and so it was just him and I tried to act like everything was fine. I felt like I had to pretend and continue on investigating this man. He would look at me, sometimes kind of staring at me, and I think he was very, very suspicious. I went to bed and I tried to pretend I was asleep. I wanted him to leave me alone. I told him I didn't feel good. And he said, well, let me give you this pill. I have a pill that'll help, you know. You'll feel much better. He went and got this pill, and he wouldn't stop. He wouldn't quit saying, take this pill.
Come on, take it.
No, it's okay, thank you.
Take it.
Finally, I just got tired of hearing it, and I took the pill. And I don't know what he gave me, but if I wasn't sick before, I was definitely sick after. I was absolutely, deathly ill. He came to the door and pounded on the door.
Open the door, Margie. Open the door, I'm kicking in!
I opened the door and he came in and He picked me up in his arms and he was gentle. He put me to bed and I thought, he's gonna leave me alone, good. I thought I went to sleep, but I think I blacked out. It was like I was falling in a deep black hole, and I was just gone. And yet, every once in a while, there was like a light and there was someone on top of me. I tried to scream, but nothing came out of my mouth, and then everything went black. I knew he raped me, I knew it.
Margie Danielsen, certain her husband of just 7 weeks has drugged and raped her.
I felt so betrayed and hopeless. I had bruises, and Sean Paul was gone. All the secrets and lies that he had told me, that it just made him more evil than ever. I knew it was time to be strong for my daughters. I walk into the kitchen and there was this orange juice glass. He always had orange juice. I seen on TV that you can get prints, fingerprints, from glasses. And so I put on my rubber gloves and I put the glass in a plastic bag.
And she goes directly to the police.
I went to the desk and I told the police officer, I don't think my husband's who he says he is.
She was concerned about her husband.
I don't know who else to turn to. He's not who he says he is.
She was very nervous. Her voice was a little bit on the shaky side.
He has 2 Social Security cards, and his daughter's birth certificate, I think, is a fake.
I thought they were going to think I was an overreactive wife.
He's also become more violent.
She was definitely scared of him. She was concerned about her welfare, and so were we.
He's not who he says he is. I need your help.
And they took the bag with the glass in it, and I waited.
Well, he was very persuasive with her. I think he had her over a barrel at the time.
When they came back into the room, they told me that the fingerprints matched Paul Stephen Mack.
What did he do?
Well, Paul Stephen Mack's wanted for murder.
My heart dropped. I didn't want to believe that this man that I was married to was a murderer. The man that was on America's Most Wanted, wanted for murder.
Margie's husband, the man who has been sharing her home, her life, her bed, is a fugitive, wanted in connection with 2 murders.
They told me that first he had a 19-year-old secretary, Annette Huddle, and he strangled her and left her floating in a river. They didn't have enough evidence, so they had to let him go. And then he met another young girl named Karen Winslet. He poisoned her and then he raped her. He stuffed her body in the back of her car and drove it to a parking lot and left it. And that's when he fled to Salt Lake City. And they've been looking for him for a year. Just couldn't be possible. can't even imagine that evil was in my house.
He's a murderer.
They said they thought I should take my children and leave.
No, if I don't go home tonight, he'll flee. He's already suspicious. And then he'll come back and he'll hurt my girls.
They wanted me to get my girls and get out of there. They needed to get a team together. They needed to get an arrest warrant, and it would probably be in the morning.
I'm going home. I won't let him hurt my family anymore.
It was the hardest thing I've ever done.
We were hot on his trail. That is, if everything was going to go as planned, because these guys can go on a run any time.
The police plan to arrest her husband early the following morning. Margie sends her kids away for the night, but she knows that if she's not home when he returns, Sean Paul will suspect something and vanish, or worse. So she takes a huge risk.
When I got home from the police station, all I could do was sit in a chair and wait for him to come home. I wanted to run and hide, but I knew that I couldn't. I knew that he would run. My heart is beating so fast. And then he finally walks in the door.
Hi, how's your day?
It was good.
I can't even look at him. I know I'm talking back to him, but I'm not really sure what I'm saying. I went to bed first. I just wanted to hide under the covers and pretend that I wasn't there. It was a horrible feeling. I could hardly breathe, but I just waited. I heard him walking down the hallway, and he entered the room, and I could feel him standing there above me, staring at me. And I thought, what is he going to do to me? This man could kill me. Am I going to survive this? Am I going to survive the night?
The police plan to arrest her husband at dawn. But first, Margie has to survive the night.
When he came in and he got into bed and reached over to kiss me, my whole body just stiffened, and I hoped that he wouldn't notice it. And I slept all night long with my eyes open. Early in the morning, and I'm still awake, and all of a sudden, I hear this banging on the front door. Sean Paul jumped out of bed, threw some clothes on, and ran in the bathroom and jumped out the window. I couldn't believe it.
Sean Paul desperately tries to escape.
I sat there and I thought, are they going to get him? Are they going to get him? I was just so afraid of this man. Please get him.
Eventually, there's no way out for Paul Stephen Mack.
We've got him. He's been arrested.
Thank you.
I was finally able to breathe. I ran into the bedroom and I tore off the sheets. I tore off the blanket. I grabbed the pillows and I threw them in the garbage. I went and took a shower and I was scrubbing every inch of my body and crying and screaming and wanting to just get rid of him. just to make sure he was gone.
She got all of us girls and told us that Sean had been arrested and he was a suspect for murder.
I explained what had happened, that Sean Paul Lanier was not Sean Paul Lanier, that he was actually Paul Stephen Mack, and he had murdered someone. But he's in jail now, we're all going to be safe.
It was shocking that he had been arrested, let alone for murder.
They just kept hugging me and hanging on to me, and they were my strength. And I tried to be their strength. I don't know what I would have done without them.
For Margie, the nightmare isn't over. Paul Stephen Mack has stolen all her money.
I had called my attorney and he came to the house and we went over all my finances. I was shocked.
Her husband has cheated her out of everything she owns.
He ruined me financially. He ruined my hopes and dreams. He ruined everything.
Gradually, Margie starts to rebuild her life. And when she does, there's a call from the last person she expects to hear from.
Hello?
I get a phone call from Paul Mack. He tells me that he's innocent.
Don't believe anything that's written in the papers. Don't believe anything they say.
And he wants to come back to me and my girls. And I said, that can't happen. And he says, no, I'm going to come back at least one more time. And that hit me wrong. Like, one more time to kill me? I hung up the phone. And then he would call again. And he would call again.
Three years after Margie met Paul Stephen Mack, he stands trial for the murder of Karen Winslet.
Paul was accused of first-degree murder and murder in the course of a rape, and also murder during the course of a poisoning.
I wanted to make sure that he was convicted. I was so worried because he was such a convincing con man that he would get away with it. And the first place he would go would be to find me and my girls.
He can be very persuasive and very manipulative. People just tend to believe things that he says.
Paul Mack uses all his charm to try to persuade the court of his innocence.
I believe that he really thought he could convince the jury of things that may not have been true. The prosecutor really thought that there might be an acquittal in the case.
He could get out. That would be the worst thing ever.
But Stephen Mack's powers of persuasion don't fool the jury.
He was finally convicted of first-degree murder and rape. And he got 27 to life. I decided that I needed closure. I wanted to look him in the eye and tell him that he didn't break me. So I went to the jail and I looked in his eyes and all I could see was evil.
Hey, sweetheart. so good.
And I said, Paul, Stephen, Mack, I am here to look you in the eye and tell you that I know you did it. You've been found guilty. I want you to leave me alone. I want you to leave my children alone.
You can't hurt us anymore.
And he told me, he said, I will come and see you one last time.
No matter what, I will come see you.
And I said,
Good luck with that.
I think she was really brave to do what she did, to still live with him and pretend everything was okay and hide everything from us kids and help get him caught. I think she was really brave. I can't imagine.
I got home, and the next morning, my girls all crawled into bed with me. And it was just a happy home again. I knew that we were going to be okay. He will be up for parole. And I have talked to the parole board and told them, if you ever let him out, he'll murder again. There's no doubt in my mind.